Welcome once again to Really American. I am Michael Hayne. Now, I already mentioned how human toe fungus Charlie Kirk crashed the Democratic National Convention, epically owned for it, and once again tried to manufacture outrage and nothing burgers to appeal to the miserably uninformed maggot base. Now, it would appear that Laura Trump, yes, apparently somebody married Eric. She kind of just looks like an emaciated grasshopper. They kind of all do. She apparently was bitching and whining as well. And where else would she do it but on Hannity? Let's hear what she had to say.
So they're going, and the media is not going to point it out. So that then becomes an issue for the campaign and for the RNC, right?
Well, that's exactly right. That's our job over the next 78 days, Sean. We have to tell the American people exactly who Kamala Harris is. And look, she just came out on stage there in front of the nation at the DNC, her first appearance, and told you absolutely nothing. It was actually kind of shocking to me. What I think people have at least learned thus far, if they don't know yet Kamala Harris's radical positions, Tim Walz's radical positions, they know that this party and these candidates, Sean, are very phony. They're very inauthentic. Look at Donald Trump. 2 days before our convention, he's shot in the head. He shows up at our convention. He's there every single day. He's there for all the major speeches. This is a man who sometimes is transparent, some might say to a fault, but you never have to wonder who Donald Trump is, where he stands on anything, or what he is thinking, because he will tell you. On the other side of things, you have a completely phony party and completely phony candidates in Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. I mean, the whole thing is crazy. You see the fact that they lied about Joe Biden for how long to us? Joe Biden's fine until Joe Biden is not fine. Now we all see what was going on there, of course. And then, you know, the idea that Kamala Harris and Tim Walz are somehow going to do anything different or better than the past 4 years. Folks, you've had Kamala Harris right there alongside Joe Biden for 3.5 years. If you put this person in the White House alongside her running mate, it will be like Joe Biden and Kamala Harris on steroids. You're right. That's what we have to convince the American people over the next 78 days. Look out, because we have to tell them, you're right, Sean, the mainstream media will not do this for us. It is frightening. But the fact that we were there and we just heard for, I guess it was 2 minutes from Kamala with absolutely no substance, nothing on policy. The only policy she has, of course, she ripped off from Donald Trump or straight out of communist playbooks, is terrifying and crazy. But we're going to make sure the American people know exactly who this woman is come November 5th.
From the day you took...
Since it's no longer the Republican Party, but rather the Trumplican Party, in March of this year, Donnie McVon Shits His Pants replaced longtime RNC chair Ronna McDaniel with none other than his daughter-in-law, Laura Trump. Needless to say, things haven't gone too great since the switch. I mean, let's look at his rallies. They're smaller, fewer in attendance. The entire campaign has been unraveling ever since Kamala Harris has stepped in. Or how about the fact that all those donations, all the maggots giving their redneck welfare to their cult leader, is possibly just going to pay your father-in-law's legal fees? Or what's happening with down-the-ballot races for Republicans? Is any of that money going to important Senate and congressional races? Or perhaps it's going to secure money to pay lawyers in order to contest the election results for 2024. I think so. But here she was denying that Trump would, once again try to deny the election and incite violent mob. Let's take a look at that.
Yes, it was a setup question for Biden to answer it that way. But what do you say to people who are concerned that former President Trump won't play by the rules of democracy unless the rules go his way?
Well, he didn't say it would be a bloodbath, just to correct President Biden. He was actually talking in that context about the auto industry, that it would be a bloodbath for them. They have these EV mandates they want to put in place, and that would be problematic. I think that's what he's referencing there. Look, my job at the RNC and our number one focus at the RNC, Chris, has been election integrity. You can argue whatever you want about the 2020 election, but there is no doubt that half the country, maybe more, feels like there was something off in that election. And it is integral to who we are as Americans, that we trust our electoral process. So our number one job at the RNC has been ensuring election integrity. We have trainings all across the country because we believe actually making people part of the process demystifies it. We want people in the room to have eyes on every time a vote is cast and every time a vote is counted. And we believe if every legal vote is counted come November 5th, Donald Trump will be president. Now, people, of course, try to argue about January 6th all the time. I understand that. Here's the reality. Donald Trump did leave the White House. Donald Trump, whenever, even despite the fact that he does not believe he lost that election in 2020, he left the White House. There will be no problem. It is my job to make sure that people who are voting for Donald Trump feel like their vote matters and their vote counts. And I can assure you, if he does not legally and legitimately win this election, there will be no problem.
And look, obviously there's recourse, there's ability to litigate. We've seen it before with both parties. I would push back and say one of the reasons a lot of people in the country don't believe the last election was a fair election is because what they've been told by your father-in-law and a lot of his people.
And what they saw, Chris, that was a very unique election. You had such a huge mail-in vote that came in. It was unlike anything we've ever seen. There were a lot of questions unanswered. And by the way, the legal challenges we had from the side of the Trump campaign were not thrown out based on merit. Those were thrown out by and large via clerical errors. And it's a shame because you don't want half the country to feel like, well, I don't even know if I can trust this process. We have such little faith in so many of our systems right now in this country. We need to get it back. And so we're trying to do our part. We have actually extended this offer to our friends across the aisle at the DNC. We would love to have them part of the process as well. We have not received an answer back on that to our open invitation, but it does still stand as well.
I'm with you. Look, we differ about why the mood is what it is. The lawsuits weren't successful. There's never been anything proven. Even the big name that everybody was throwing around about that had all the proof of all the affidavits wound up coming in court and saying they didn't have the proof. But I'm with you. We need this election to be safe and secure. This opportunity is available to you for the duration, no matter how your voice is, to discuss what matters to the American people. Laura Trump, thank you very much. I wish you well.
Thank you very much. It'll be better next time, Chris, my voice.
You sound great. And again, it doesn't have to be me. News Nation has an open invitation for your father-in-law, the former president, and J.D. Vance whenever they want to come on. All right?
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Hey, thanks.
Well, Laura, sounds to me a lot like you want to have poll watchers and essentially voter intimidation like you did in 2020. And we all know you're going to try to go the fake elector route again. But guess what? Donnie Von Schitz's pants, Trumpty Dumpty, luckily, he's not president anymore. So you know who's going to be in charge? President Biden. And if you think for one moment he will allow any type of fuckery that you did before in 2020, well, let's just say I have a bridge to sell you that Trump would never provide funding for. Well, I am Michael Hayne. This is Really American. Please hit that subscribe button. Check me out on TikTok at Mike Hayne Comedian. Talk to you later.